Welcome to the 700 Club. Thanks so much for joining us. The crisis at our southern border could get far worse, if you can even imagine it getting worse. The foreign minister of Panama has warned that up to 60,000 migrants, many of them from Haiti, are heading towards the U.S.
And now the Biden administration has canceled the remaining contracts for a border wall. That move comes after a new poll showed that only 25% of Americans approve of President Biden's handling of the border crisis. 67% disapprove. Chuck Holton brings us this look at the next wave of migrants coming to the border.
The very first civilization that migrants come to when they walk through the Darien Gap is this village behind me of Bajo Chiquito. And it's about 400 Indians who live here. They have no running water or electricity. But today they're receiving 800 to 1,000 migrants every day coming through the jungle into their village. And it's turned the village into an open pit sewer.
The migrants come from all over the world, and the majority right now are from Haiti. They've heard that pregnant women and families with children get preferential treatment when they get to the U.S., so record numbers of children are being forced to make the deadly 6-day walk through the jungle. Many, like these Haitian kids, arrive in Panama without their parents, leaving the government to determine what to do with them.
¿Cuántos años tienes tú? 6. Tú tienes 6 años. ¿Y ella?
Lucila Velasquez is the wife of the mayor. She says the children suffer the most.
Hemos llegado a la cantidad de 5,000 habitantes aquí. En los niños que ya que vienen 8 o 10 días en ese camino de la selva del Darién, pasando hambre, se mojan con la lluvia, por cuestión de la naturaleza, obvio que no podemos detenernos, ¿no? Y lamentablemente hay pérdida de vida de niños atravesando ese territorio, la selva.
So we've been here about an hour, and this place is an absolute madhouse now, like nothing we've ever seen here before. They're coming nonstop out of the jungle, always in very bad shape, and they're trying to get them out of here as soon as they can. So they put them on boats and send them downriver to the camp down there, which is also full. The ones who were in the camp the last time I was here have already gone to the United States and are part of the record numbers that they're seeing at the U.S. southern border right now. And so judging by what I see behind me, those numbers are going to explode because there is a large glut of migrants that are making their way north, much larger than there was a couple months ago.
Despite an August agreement between Panama and Colombia to limit the daily number of migrants entering Panama to 600, the vast jungle makes enforcing that agreement almost impossible. Reports from the Colombian side of the gap estimate more than 20,000 Haitians waiting to start their journey. About the only delay is the capacity of the smugglers who help them across, and that capacity grows daily, meaning things will likely get worse here in Panama and then at the U.S. southern border within the next month or so. From the Darien jungle, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Well, this is absolutely incredible, and it's all because of a policy announcement. The Biden administration, the word went out around the world. There's a new president in town, and he's not going to finish the wall, and he's going to open up the border, and he's going to change the rules at the border. And if you can get there, and if you have children when you get there, you don't have to worry about anything. You just come in, and even if you get caught, you're going to get released. That message has gone around the world. Remember back in the Trump administration, I know we're going back in time, but there was, that administration was warning of caravans of immigrants coming through Mexico. And I remember the nightly news literally ridiculing that. Well, there's no ridicule anymore. If we're not going to enforce our laws, let me underline that. You can't be a sovereign nation and have an open border. You have to enforce your immigration laws. That's why they're on the books. You have to enforce them. If you're not going to enforce them and you have the majority in Congress and the majority in the Senate, well, then by all means change them. But don't send the message to the entire world, come, our borders are open, and encourage this. Every one of the deaths along that trail, and it's a very hard journey, every single one of them you are responsible for because you've encouraged them to come. Please change your policy. This has gotten way out of hand, and why won't you listen to what's happening at our border? In other news, the court fight over the Texas abortion law is far from over. Ephraim Graham has that story from the CBN Newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, the White House has until tomorrow to respond after a panel of federal judges reinstated the law that bans virtually all abortions in Texas. The Biden administration has been on the offense against the law for weeks. Dale Hurd has the story.
The tough abortion law was first struck down last week by a federal judge, only to be reinstated within 2 days by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The law was specifically crafted to make it hard to overturn. The law bans abortion once a fetal heartbeat is detected, usually around 6 weeks, and makes no exceptions for cases of rape or incest, although it does allow some exceptions for health reasons. One Texas pro-life leader called it an answer to prayer. Others also thankful for the court's ruling.
We're out here to help the women make a better choice for their lives.
The Texas law allows average citizens to bring a lawsuit against someone they think helped facilitate an abortion. And since the state does not enforce the law, it cannot be held responsible for the filings of private citizens. Legal experts call it a novel approach that has helped the law avoid legal challenges until now. On Wednesday, after the law was temporarily blocked by an Obama-appointed district judge, some abortion clinics reopened their doors. But after the Fifth Circuit reversed that decision and reinstated the law, abortion clinics could again be sued for performing abortions. So women seeking abortion will have to head out of state.
We've had patients who thought they could maybe get into a clinic in state, and now, after the ruling, will have to figure out how to travel again.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed the law in May.
Our creators endowed us with the right to life, and yet millions of children lose their right to life every year because of abortion.
A national pro-choice leader called on the U.S. Supreme Court to, quote, step in and stop this madness. The Texas legal battle comes as the Supreme Court will hear another abortion-related case today. Whether Kentucky's Republican Attorney General can defend the state's law against partial birth abortion. It was passed under a Republican governor, and the new Democratic governor doesn't support it. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Turning overseas now, the Taliban says the U.S. has agreed to provide humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. The U.S. only said the two sides had talked about assistance. The Taliban also promised U.S. attacks will not be launched against other countries from Afghanistan. But Saturday, the Taliban ruled out cooperating with America on trying to contain radical groups like ISIS. That came a day after an explosion went off at a mosque in northern Afghanistan, killing or wounding at least 100 people. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but ISIS has a long history of attacking Afghanistan's Shiite Muslim minority. Lebanon's electric grid is back online after the army supplied fuel to 2 key power stations. The country suffered a massive blackout Saturday when the state's power plants ran out of fuel. As Chris Mitchell now reports, the outage is one more sign of a nation on the verge of economic and political collapse.
The blackout plunged Beirut, once known as the Paris of the Middle East, into the dark. For a time, car headlights became the main source of light.
We used to have electricity for an hour daily. Now it's totally cut. We're spending our time outside our homes so our children can have fun. The situation is getting worse. May God protect us as we don't know where we're heading.
The lack of power represents a crisis for hospitals, essential services, and ordinary people trying to keep their refrigerators running and food from spoiling. Last week, Jordan agreed to supply electricity to Lebanon, but that deal could take months to implement. The energy crisis is part of a larger political and economic crisis where Lebanon's currency has lost 90% of its value. Recently, these depositors stormed this bank in central Beirut after the bank blocked their money.
I'm demanding my right and my money. All my years of work were robbed. They robbed people's work and they put them in the name of their children abroad.
A new government took office recently, the first since the massive explosion in August 2020 that devastated the city of Beirut. But Israeli analyst and retired Brigadier General Asaf Orion told CBN News Lebanon is not only a failed state, but a fake state, because the terrorist group Hezbollah is the real power inside the country.
They're running the show. They allow legitimate veneer of Christians, Sunnis, and others to take part in this facade. And as long as the world buys it and keeps on paying, it will keep on rolling.
In the meantime, the Lebanese people are suffering through an economic crisis the World Bank says is one of the worst in the world in the past 150 years. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
A crisis indeed. Gordon?
Well, we're not talking about a third world country. Lebanon was the jewel of the Mediterranean. Beirut was called the Paris of the Mediterranean, and that was not that long ago. And you look back to the 1950s, the 1960s, it was an extraordinarily wealthy country, an extraordinarily wealthy city, and a very sophisticated population, very educated population. They claimed that they had the secret sauce, if you will, that they had a government where Muslims and Christians and Jews and Druze and all the various religions could come together and they could govern themselves and be a shining light to the whole world of how they could get along. And then in 1972, the PLO tried to overthrow the king of Jordan and were expelled from Jordan. And Lebanon said, well, we've got the secret sauce. So PLO, come on in. We'll give you a homeland and we'll set you up here. Well, fast forward to today and you see what happens. You have these radicals come and live in your midst, and the next thing you know, you're being governed by Hezbollah. Now, Iran's behind all of this. They're funding all of this. And who's bearing the brunt of it? The average citizen in Lebanon. And it's an absolute tragedy what has happened. And it's also proof of what the Bible says. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. You receive the PLO, and they use your country as a staging base for attacks against Israel. Southern Lebanon is right now an armed camp. There are tunnels throughout it. There's stockpiles of weapons, all designed to attack Israel. And you see the result. The Bible, once again, is being proved true. Big Brother is watching you if you live in China. More than 415 million surveillance cameras track the population all day, every day. And that's not all. Add digital currency, Social Security cards, monitored smartphones, and you have what's being called the perfect police state. George Thomas brings us the disturbing details.
In 2013, China's President Xi Jinping said that whoever controls data has the upper hand. Ever since, Xi has been on a technological quest to build what some call a blueprint for a digital dictatorship. It would not only allow China's communist government to control huge volumes of data on its own citizens, but also of those around the world. Dustin Carmack worked as chief of staff for the director of national intelligence.
You're talking, vast amounts of data. They are running between both either covert or overt, cyber attacks and other realms. They are sucking up massive amounts of data around the globe that could have nefarious purposes in the long run.
China has more than 415 million surveillance cameras deployed throughout the country, making its population by far the world's most watched. And now Beijing is using digital currency, social security cards, social credit systems, and online interactions to keep an even closer eye on its citizens.
It is a massive dragnet based on artificial intelligence, facial recognition, voice recognition. These are all novel technologies that the Chinese Communist Party is deploying against its people.
Jeffrey Kane, author of the new book, The Perfect Police State, an undercover odyssey into China's terrifying surveillance dystopia of the future, says the regime first tested this type of surveillance several years ago to monitor Uyghurs, an ethnic Muslim group living in the western part of the country.
It's a place where everything they do from morning to night, from the moment that they eat breakfast or go to the market or go to work, everything is monitored by their smartphones, by government cameras everywhere. There are millions of government cameras in this region, and nothing is private, nothing is secret. Your entire life is exposed.
Kane says his investigation found that those reams of data are fed to a massive police database, and with the help of artificial intelligence, attempts to predict whether or not someone will commit a crime in the future.
But the thing is that the system has gotten out of control because, so I looked at a list of reasons that people can be detained for these pre-crimes. And, it could be something as simple as, they bought a tent suddenly, or they stopped smoking suddenly. They change their behavior in ways that the system finds odd. And then so it nudges the police. It sends the police a little, on the app, a nudge to, go to this person's house, to their work, to check them out, maybe interrogate them a little bit. And if the situation calls for it, take them away to one of many hundreds of concentration camps.
China is accused of committing genocide against the Uyghurs by holding more than 1 million of them in what Beijing calls re-education camps. The Associated Press gaining exclusive access to one such detention center this summer that allegedly had room enough to hold more than 10,000 prisoners.
When we talk about genocide, it's not just about taking lives, which there's evidence to suggest that's occurring too, but it's to erase a population, an ethnic group, and that's what they're after.
Sophie Richardson with Human Rights Watch says President Xi also wants China to be the global leader in exporting its authoritarian surveillance tech to other like-minded regimes.
So when they've got the kinds of tools that allow them, for example, to track their critics' every movement and control their access, for example, to money or even to buying plane or train tickets, it can make a state exponentially more powerful.
New research from Oxford University and Berlin's Humboldt University uncovered some 1,800 active Chinese surveillance devices across 72 countries, including Venezuela, Kenya, Philippines, and Oman.
China is now using their influence, their money, their technology to facilitate the repression of minorities and individuals in other countries.
China has also deployed censorship devices in 17 other countries, among them Turkey, Cuba, Egypt, and Pakistan, where news and media websites are blocked.
I think the overall effect is to use technology to engineer a very particular kind of dissent-free society, and that's a very frightening concept.
China used these and other tactics to suppress protesters in Hong Kong, then came to Cuba's aid in July by cutting communications after tens of thousands took to the streets protesting the regime.
That type of technology being used to throttle internet traffic flows, or at times in Cuba actually turn off the internet, especially in the early days of some of the protests down there.
Meanwhile, new research shows that technology made by 7 American companies, including IBM, Microsoft, and Oracle, are facilitating China's surveillance of Uyghur Muslims with little to no consequences.
I think that a lot of American companies have been caught with their pants down, frankly, because they spent the past 2 decades warming up to China, looking for market and business opportunities, profit opportunities, and now they've realized that they're making a deal with the devil.
A deal that is handing China a treasure trove of data in its quest for global information superiority and digital control over its citizens and those around the world. George Thomas, CBN News.
You look back in history and what started all of this, and what started it was a terrorist attack in Beijing. The Uyghurs, a Muslim minority, claimed responsibility for a series of terrorist attacks there, and that is what spawned this. So if you think that this can't happen here, well, think again. Now, China's definitely taken it to a degree that right now we think is inconceivable, that they're going to use surveillance technology to shut down protests in Hong Kong, to essentially control their population and get into an Orwellian state of thought control. But the genesis was terrorism. So look at our own country. What has happened since 9/11? How have we become a surveillance state too? And just because you think, well, I'm not a Muslim terrorist, so I don't have anything to fear. Well, think again. The definition of terrorism is being reimagined, and now they're talking about domestic terrorism. And so what's that going to look like in the future? So if you support a political candidate or a political party, or you go to political rallies, are they gathering cell phone data? Are they doing these kinds of things? Well, it's already happened. We've had an attorney general, the current sitting attorney general, has put out a message to the FBI to start tracking people who show up at school board meetings. And he used the phrase domestic terrorism. So it's already happening here. We need to wake up to the dangers of a surveillance state, the danger that comes when you start creating databases and you start identifying your citizens based on their political beliefs. There's no place in a free and open society with free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition your government for a redress of grievances, for the very same government to start tracking those people. That is the very definition of you're no longer free. If you're going to be in a database, they're going to track you. They're going to be able to apprehend you based on some kind of security profile, monitor everything you do. Well, then you're no longer free. Terry?
The most remarkable story coming up. At 6:30 on a January morning, the FBI busted down Bobby Love's front door. The police swarmed him as he was lying in bed. One of the officers barked at him, asking for his name. Bobby Love answered. Then they asked for his real name. And at that moment, Bobby's wife found out that her husband of more than 30 years had been living a lie.
Cheryl Love always thought her husband Bobby was hiding something. Then, 31 years into their marriage, the FBI and police stormed into their Brooklyn apartment. Bobby Love was actually Walter Miller, an escaped convict. His crime, armed robbery. His sentence, 25 to 30 years in a North Carolina prison. After his escape, he'd moved to New York, changed his name, and started a family. The 2015 arrest landed Bobby behind bars for a year, testing the couple's love and commitment. In their book, The Redemption of Bobby Love, the two share how honesty, forgiveness, and faith can lead to true freedom from the past.
An incredible story. Bobby and Cheryl Love are with us now via Skype, and we welcome them to the 700 Club. Good to have you with us today on the program.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
I want to say we've all agreed this is a movie. I hope you've got that in the making. It's an incredible story. Let's go back to January of 2015. After nearly 40 years on the run, more than 30 years of being married, the secret comes out. And Cheryl, you knew nothing about any of this. It's early in the morning, and not just the police, but also FBI broke into your home. Tell us what you went through.
Wow, absolutely. So that morning, I was making a cup of tea. I got up early that morning to make a hot cup of tea and to send one of my sons off to school early. I had prayer with him, and then I went back to have that cup of tea. And as I sat down to drink it, there was a very loud knock at the door. So I went to the door, and I'm like, who is it? Both of us said, who is it at the time? And when I opened the door, they said, well, they said it was they just said, come, we want 2A. I'm sorry. So we opened the door, and when we opened the door, it was the FBI, NYPD, guns drawn. Oh my goodness. You talk about a shock. That was really a shock for me. And I'm looking at my husband, I'm looking around, and the man says to me, stand back, ma'am. you don't know who this man is. And I'm just could feel my hair standing up on the back of my neck when they said that. And so as I'm looking, Bobby's not looking at me though, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, honey, what happened? What's going on? And, you know, I'm crying, there's tears, it's just a lot of things going on at that time. But they wouldn't let me get near to him. And they had him surrounded, and they said to him, what did they say, honey?
What's your name? And I said, Bobby Love. And they said, no, your real name. Wow. And I knew this was the time that everything was going to fall down my whole life.
And you had a couple of your kids at home at the time, too, who were equally shocked by all of this. But, Bobby, take us back a little bit earlier. You had been in prison for theft, right?
Yes, I had went to juvenile prison in North Carolina and in Washington, D.C. And both times I, you know, did my best, but I didn't learn anything. And then I eventually come here to New York and escape from jail in New York, I mean, Greensboro, and then come to New York.
Wow. And you just started over. How did Walter Miller, the felon, become Bobby Love, the model citizen?
Well, I would get on the bus coming to New York, and a lady asked me, a young girl had her own issues, and she said to me, what's your name? I just said Bobby. And then while I'm here in New York and walking the streets and trying to find a job or trying to find somewhere to eat, I would walk into a Social Security office. And when I walked into the Social Security office, I asked the lady, I would like to apply for a Social Security card. And when I gave her my address, she said, oh, you never had a card? I said, no. And she gave me a card right on the spot.
Wow. Wow. You know, what's so crazy about your story is you were a model citizen as you moved on with your life. I mean, you two met in church. I mean, you get married, you have children. The police and the FBI said they didn't even want to come and arrest you, but they had to because whoever turned you in just kept bugging them week after week after week. But they saw that your life had turned around. Cheryl, your husband ends up in prison after all of this with a 10-year sentence. What went on with you during that time?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we've always had a strong faith in God. And we were praying. We were just trusting in God, believing in his word, and asking him just to turn this whole thing around. And I would have visions of Bobby getting out. And, you know, we would continue, me and the children would continue to go to church. We would just praise God because we just felt like praising God, he's going to make a way for us. And he did. He turned it all around.
How did you come to the place where you, having been deceived really for 30 years, could just choose to forgive?
Well, I had to come to the realization, first of all, that this man who I've been married to all these years, he did deceive me. But I also felt in my heart that I had to forgive him because I loved Bobby. I didn't know those things that he did back in time with Walter Miller. I didn't even know of him having a different name. I just knew who Bobby was to me. And he was a good husband. He was a wonderful father. And he was doing the things he was supposed to do. And then when I did find out everything, I said, my God, I said, God, you have been with him and you've been with us this whole time. You've been with us. Bobby was rehabilitating himself while he was out. And to me, that was just amazing. However, there was times, you know, in a marriage, you have good times and you have bad times. But I just trusted God. I said, Lord, I just need you to guide me and show me what to do. Show me the things to say, even the things to say to my husband. And we would pray when he would call me from the prison. We would pray over the phone. I would pray with the children. And he would always call me at a certain time. So we just tried to stay positive. And all the while, he was learning more about God while he was in the prison system also. So God has just been with us through the whole thing.
It's a remarkable story of redemption, both of you. It's, I mean, God has really brought you to an amazing place and is using your story to touch many, many lives. I want to say we look forward to that movie. I want our viewers to know you can read more about this story in their brand new book. It's called The Redemption of Bobby Love, a story of faith, family, and justice, and it's available wherever books are sold. Thanks so much for being with us today. God bless you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
And
Thank
God
you.
bless you too.
Yes.
Welcome back to the 700 Club for this CBN News break. A mob of 200 radical Hindu nationalists attacked worshippers at a church in northern India. Union of Catholic Asian News reports the mob barged into the church on Sunday, October 3rd. At least 3 Christian women were seriously injured and taken to a nearby hospital. Christian leaders are demanding authorities take strict action against the attackers. You can learn more about this story and other attacks on Christians in India at cbnnews.com. CBN's Helping the Homefront recently partnered with chaplains and churches to get Superbook summer gift boxes into the hands of children of military families. It was part of the first ever gift box giveaway, distributing to nearly 3,000 boxes. CBN has distributed Superbook boxes at Christmas, but this year it added summer boxes for military children. Helping the Homefront helps military families facing financial hardship. CBN has distributed more than 12,000 Superbook boxes to date, with thousands more on the way. And you can learn more about what CBN is doing around the world by going to cbn.com/international.
Well, today is a very special day because it marks Molly Young's 50 years of service to CBN. I remember Molly used to give me a ride. I had a summer job at CBN. She lived in Newport News. We lived out in Nansemond County. She would stop and pick me up on the way. But congratulations, Molly. She's our guest booker here at the 700 Club. 50 years of faithful service, and congratulations for all that you've done. May God richly reward you for your service.
The official historian of CBN or something.
If I forget, Molly remembers, that's for sure. Well, a triple whammy. That's what hit a special ops soldier and his family. Their car broke down, their washer needed replacing, and they owed thousands of dollars in medical bills. So how did this family of 6 get a hand up? You're about to find out.
When Emil decided to enlist in the Army, he went one step further and applied for special ops. His wife, Marielle, is proud her husband is a member of such an elite team.
I believe that he has the character to do it. Because it is a higher level job, it does require, a person to have a strong faith and a strong character and strong morals.
Emil insists it's Marielle that deserves the praise, especially after his absence during his recent 9 months of training.
What she does as far as holding down the fort is beyond what I can expect.
Managing the budget for a family of 6 on a soldier's paycheck isn't easy, but it got even tougher when Emil's car needed repairs at the same time their washer needed to be replaced. Then their son required eye surgery, leaving them with $5,000 of out-of-pocket medical copays.
It does stress me out sometimes, and it does make me feel worried. While we do what we can, in the meantime, God is working something behind the scenes, and eventually what we're doing and what he's doing comes together to provide.
The family recently transferred from Fort Campbell, Kentucky to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Their church in Kentucky contacted Manna Church near Fort Bragg and Helping the Homefront to tell us the family was new in town and needed help. Manna pastor Michael Ramos met them to introduce himself and tell them CBN was buying them a washer and paying to fix Emil's car.
That's really exciting.
Is that like a little bit of load coming off right now?
Yeah, surprise.
Very grateful, very grateful. Lots of words, I don't know what to say, but thank you.
And then the last thing, we want to reimburse you for the full amount of $5,000 for the medical expenses that you guys have incurred. So Helping the Homefront is going to pitch in and take care of that for you guys. How do you guys feel about that?
Wow.
Very thankful.
That's God, man. I mean, thank you. I mean, we appreciate it. We really do. I mean, that's that's huge.
This couple can now enjoy a fresh start at their new duty station, worry-free.
We can look up and smile, and not have that burden anymore. We're thankful for everything that CBN has done and the partners for supporting it.
Well, that thank you goes to you. If you're a member of the 700 Club, you're the real hero of that story, because we want to help people. And when you're a part of that, you're part of helping people here at home and around the world. Helping the home front is just one thing the 700 Club does. We want to recognize active duty military families and recognize they're serving too. If you have a parent, if you have a spouse who's active duty, well, then you're giving up a good bit of your life to support that service member in their service to our country, and we want to recognize that and help you. This is just a part of what happens when you join the 700 Club. If you're not a member, pick up the phone and call us and say, yes, I want to be a member. 1-800-700-7000. How much is it? Well, it's just $20 a month. That's 65 cents a day. If you're already a member, consider increasing to 700 Club Gold, or 1,000 Club, that's $1,000 a year, $84 a month. Whatever level, do it now. 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to cbn.com. There's a place you can give on the donation page. You can also text us now. You can text CBN to 71777. Now, when you call and say, yes, I want to be a member of the 700 Club, we'll send as our gift to you The Nearness of Heaven. It's our latest teaching DVD. Stories of people that have been to heaven, come back, shared their experiences, and then a teaching on how the kingdom of God is at hand. Literally, you can reach up and grab it. You can pray that wonderful prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. When you get a glimpse of what heaven is like, it'll increase your faith, increase your prayer life, and be a blessing to you in the here and now. I want you to have it. All you have to do is call us, 1-800-700-7000, and say, yes, I want to join the 700 Club. Gray, lifeless, barely breathing. That's how Micah Anderson was found after a motorcycle came crashing down on his head. Micah wasn't expected to survive, but he did. Several months later, he stunned his parents with a message. Micah told them he had met Jesus in heaven.
At the age of 13, Micah Anderson was described as a witty, bright, compassionate boy.
Just a very funny goofball. Very, very kind and gentle.
Micah was also a rising star on the motocross circuit until he was critically injured in an accident.
He was gray, barely breathing, just like a little whimper. And every time he took a breath, I'm like, is he dead?
Micah was airlifted to the trauma unit of the closest hospital.
The crushing injury of that motorcycle coming down on his head, I really didn't think there was any way that he could have survived that.
We were hearing phrases like life support. We were being prepared, that there will be no recovery.
I called family members, called friends, and I just couldn't even talk. Every time I tried to talk, I was like crying.
I remember asking the Lord to please let Micah recover and be the way Micah always was.
In the next days and weeks, Micah lay comatose, clinging to life. Family and friends and thousands of intercessors around the world rallied in prayer for him.
We had millions of people praying for us. And from the very beginning, had that deep peace that even if Micah did not recover, that this is okay.
The next few months were tumultuous. Micah's body convulsed constantly as his brain tried to heal.
I remember we came to a point where we had to say, we're going to let him go totally, completely.
We just laid it down before God and said, we're your servants, we'll do what you want us to do.
It's not like that ended the grieving. No, not at all. I would sit right next to his bed. I would cry and cry and cry.
Eventually, Micah's body calmed down, but he was still unresponsive with no signs of awareness. Doctors finally told the Andersons they had done all they could do.
It was just his body. It was this blank expression on his face. nothing. And that was it. They said, pretty much this is your new normal.
3.5 months after the accident, Micah and his family were sent home to face their new reality. Family and friends offered support, and the intercessors continued to pray.
We had moments when we just didn't know how to go on.
Just saying, God, I can't do this.
The Lord kept telling us, I have given you grace today that is sufficient, and I will give you grace again for tomorrow.
Then suddenly there was a stunning new development. The Andersons' new normal was upended.
I was walking right in front of his bed and I stubbed my toe. And all of a sudden Mike is laying in bed there and he starts chuckling at me. He starts going, He couldn't move, but he's just like, I sit down and start cracking some jokes with him. He's laughing at all the appropriate times.
From that day forward, Micah was alert and responsive. Several months later, Micah delivered his first verbal message to his astounded family. He told them that after the accident, he met Jesus in heaven.
I turned around and I was looking into the face of Christ, and the angels were just worshiping him. There is no explanation of how much joy I had. And he said, I'm going to send you back. I said, why? And then he said, they must know about my love and my Father's love for everyone, no matter what they have done. I will love them and forgive them and accept them if they come to the cross.
Today, at 21 years old, Micah never misses an opportunity to share the love of Christ with everyone he meets. Debbie Kirkland will never forget her encounter with Micah.
I had experienced a major loss. And meeting Micah and his joy and his sharing his experience of entering into heaven, it impacted me so greatly.
When you ask Micah how it feels that his story brings hope and healing to so many lives, he humbly replies,
It means beside the world to me, knowing that I am fulfilling my job well.
And when asked how he is joyful and content living with physical limitations,
why would I spend my time here and get other people sad or depressed or disappointed when I could elevate them and make them feel the joy and the love that I did in heaven?
The perseverance, courage, and faith of the Anderson family is also changing lives. They say it's Micah himself who inspires them and gives them an overwhelming peace about the future.
He encourages me every day. He always speaks life. He always encourages. He always lifts up.
This was miraculous, goes without saying. I wouldn't deem to even predict what God has in store for him.
Our life here on earth is short. And why would you like to waste your small time here on earth like being sad?
Those are incredible words for all of us. Now, you see these stories, you see the story of Micah, and you have to wonder, well, if he saw Jesus, well, why didn't he come back fully healed? What was with that? You saw throughout the story as they're filming this, you see this verse continue to come up. It's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But in that, let us not lose sight of the verse right before it. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things, I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Right now, if you're suffering need, let that verse be a watchword for you. Let Micah's words be a watchword. If you're estranged from God, if you're complaining to God, listen to the words that Micah came back with, that I will forgive everyone. I love everyone. I want everyone to come to the cross and realize they can be accepted by me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In the middle of our pandemic, in the middle of our political turmoil, in the middle of all the terrorism and all the threats from around the world, can we realize I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me? I can have grace when we're abounding, but we can also have grace when we're suffering, when we're hungry, when we're in need. We can do that. We can get through these things through Christ. There's a very unusual verse, and it's one that Jesus promised all his followers. In this world, you will have trouble, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. In the middle of your trouble, could you be of good cheer, realizing that Jesus has overcome? Now, Terry and I are going to pray for you. If you have a need in your life, we've got some other miracle stories for you to encourage you, to let you know God's watching. You can have strength in him. You can overcome anything through Christ who strengthens you. Here's one from Richard. Saturday night, October 2 this month, I was having severe pain in my heart, left shoulder. I've had heart disease for 23 years. Sunday evening, I prayed to God to please heal me. On Monday morning, I turned on the 700 Club. Terry was giving a word of knowledge that someone was praying that their heart would be healed. Terry said God heard the prayer. He was reaching into the heart to repair the damage and arteries and blood would flow normally. I claim this healing. I'm feeling great. Praise the Lord.
This is Mary, who lives in Tennessee. She suffered with painful stomach issues for 5 years. On October 5th, her pain was so severe she was going to call the doctor, but turned on the 700 Club first. Gordon, she heard you say someone has severe stomach inflammation, irritable bowel. It causes these enormous painful contractions in your intestines. God is healing that. You just felt a wave of peace. He's taking away all of the inflammation, all the irritation, all the body warring against itself. You are now healed. Immediately, Mary's pain completely went away.
Let's pray for you. Lord, we lift everyone in the audience, and we know that in you we have perfect peace, that you can do all things, and that you strengthen us in the middle of everything. Stretch forth your hand to heal, to bring peace, to bring the knowledge of you. We come to you, and we ask now. Terry, God's given you something.
Yeah, there's someone, you have an issue with your vocal cords. I want to say striated is a word that's been medically used. You can hardly speak, and you're concerned that you'll not be able to speak again. God's healing that for you right now. Just receive it.
Now, there's someone, you've got a constricted nerve in your right cheek, and God is just restoring that. He's restoring all the function. He's restoring your smile. In Jesus' name, be healed, be set free from that. Amen. If you've been healed, let us know. If you need prayer, let us know. 1-800-700-7000. This is real love. Not that we love God, but that he loved us and sent his son as a sacrifice to take away our sin.